Good afternoon, YouTubers who choose to watch our training videos, and of course our clients at InStar Alliance. Once again, we're here in the Washington, D.C. area. We're an actual real-life business that specializes in making people become financially free in 10 years or less. How can that be done? Well, it can be done, okay? If you really wanted to know more about that, of course we have a number, you can call it. It's a 24-hour hotline. It's 703-646-3941. Has anyone ever called this stuff before? Does anyone actually use our services? I'll be honest with you. Prior to the pandemic, business was not bad. It wasn't super busy. But you have to understand, people were living in an environment that basically these people didn't see a need to worry about having to get rid of their debt. They believed that the economic growth that we were getting, that growth was definitely, going to be going on for the rest of their lives, I suppose. They were riding this wave and, caring about carrying debt. Heck, this is the American way. Is it really? Yeah, well, to some there is. If you look at the average population of the U.S., probably about, I want to say 80% probably have debt. Okay, 20% have, I'd say, some debt, but not much debt, and then 10% actually don't have any debt. So you have three groups. You have debtors, you have savers, and then you have wealth builders, which is what we are. What we'll be talking today about in the topic is going to be how to understand why politics affects investing. That's what we're going to talk to my people today. I'm not in a classroom setting because of the pandemic. Obviously, I'm in my home, you can see. Not in my Texas place, but, Texas is a little bit hotter, I think, with the virus anyway. So I kind of, decided to stay up in this part of the country. In any event, let's move forward. A while back, we had a book, if you remember this book, and it talked about what happened to the American dream. This was the book that I had brung out at the very beginning of the introduction. Also want to say, too, that we're going to have a timer on this because, unfortunately, it's just so much material to cover. I don't want to make this thing, 90 minutes. So, anyway, from this, the author, Larry Burkett, got it right this time, had written about a time traveler, and he was leaving from 1958, and then he was going into 2020 and seeing the difference. And basically, what he found was not exactly what he would hope to have seen. And I think if, because of the virus, he probably would have got back in his time machine and flew right back to 1958 again. At least he'd be able to feel unsafe due to the virus. But anyway, how do we get to this virus? So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, I mentioned a while back and in some of the other videos that we have people, I have friends, I have connections that still, even though I worked many years ago with the Pentagon, I knew some people, and I have some Chinese friends, and they connected with some other Chinese friends over there. Some of them actually visited briefly. Not a lot of international flights going in and out, but China and the U.S. is still open. Europe isn't right now in August. And the UK, you got a 14-day quarantine. So basically, they found a few things. I wanted them to find out what does China feel about all this stuff that's going on. First of all, they found out that outside of wearing masks, like paper masks, because of the really horrible pollution they have in Beijing, I think Shanghai, they don't wear as many masks probably there. I haven't been there either. But anyway, they said that this is exactly what is going on. Okay? They believe that there's two issues to look at. And I kind of agree with them. You have an epidemic and you have a pandemic. So what does this have to do with politics? It has a lot to do with politics. we're going to look at the American economy, and we'll discuss that in the second part. But politics plays a big role. It plays a big role in investing, because this is what affects the Wall Street people. They look at all these different variables when they make a decision in their bullpens. And some of the things that we found out, and I'm sure people have been anxious to wonder why we're in a pandemic now, why that time traveler jumped back into his thing back in 1958, or why. So basically this is why. It says, how do we get to this point? In this new environment created by China, it's this debt issues. These are the problems that we're dealing with. Basically, in a nutshell, it's this upside down trade imbalance that has caused this. Why do I say such a thing like that? Why would I make such a wild, spurious claim? China, they have a different relationship with their people than like we do here. Basically, they have different provinces, and in their provinces, they're in high competition amongst each other. And I think that's how it got to a point where people, unless they were in a middle-class environment, they just simply did not, or were not able to afford some of the different things that we take for granted. So that's probably one problem that they've dealt with for many, many years. They've had a lot of these epidemics and pandemics. We just don't hear about them because most of the time we don't care. We just honestly don't care. We don't really care, and that's how the Chinese people feel. They feel that they don't care either. They're just there. They just exist. They don't care about proper sanitation. They don't care about preparing their food in a certain way. And some of the things that we take for granted, they're like in the Middle Ages when it comes to handling some of that stuff. These animals aren't properly processed. First of all, you shouldn't be eating bats to begin with, but they did. And these different viruses that are being created because of their poor handling of food over there, it's been going on for a long, long time. I have a chart here I wanted to go over with you. Back in 2000, and let's see, bear with me here, it's just so much information. They had a polio outbreak, which has got nothing to do with that, but that was just one problem they had. They had influenza with poultry virus. This I'm taken from the World Health Organization, by the way. From 2001 to 2003, they had SARS, the first version of Convid. From 2003 to 2004, had that for 1.5 years. Isn't that odd that that virus didn't spread outside of the country? Anyway, they had streptococcus flu. They had that from 2004 to 2005. Hope you're starting to see some sort of pattern involved in here. They had the avian bird flu. Had a couple different strains of that. That went from 2004 to 2018, roughly 14 years. And then what I call, they had a Chinese vacation. What is a Chinese vacation? The Chinese friends of mine talk about it. From 2018 and 2019, this was the first time they didn't have any kind of virus or epidemic going on within China. Then in 2019, we got a world famous Convid-19 virus. Prior to that, they had what they called the yellow flu. I don't know what the yellow fever. It was in 2016. They had a polio virus in 2011. They had a plague. I don't even know what the World Health Organization is even talking about. A plague. I mean, what is a plague? I don't know. But 2009 to 2010, that one lasted a year. And they had a melamine infant sickness. And basically, they had bad milk products. So by having bad milk products, they basically had issues with their infants because they were drinking bad milk. And then they had, in 2020, along with Convict, they had the swine flu. So as you can see, they've had a lot of viruses going on there. Several that I've mentioned right now. How do they handle them? Usually they handle it within their country. They have what's called a contact tracking system. So what they do is they track these viruses, and they can track these viruses so that they can keep them under containment by they tracking each individual that lives within that country. We don't have that here in the U.S. That's why we're on fire right now. Basically, once somebody gets sick, we have no clue of where it's going next. It just goes. And people are really, really bad in this country about handling this stuff. So basically what happens is it just spreads. If they don't wear their mask, it spreads. Will we have a vaccine? I have no idea when it will come. I hope it will come. And that's about as far as I can say in regards to that. Okay, we're running up on our first time run here. We're going to keep going with this. Like I told you before, this is a lot of material that we're going through here on August 12th. So you sit back and relax. We'll be back shortly, and we'll go forward with this about this virus. Thank you.